Welcome to World Cultural Heritage of Joseon Dynasty. I'll develop the story of shrines of the Joseon Dynasty. Jongmyo Shrine closed days Tuesdays every month, including Saturdays and Sundays. Only tours with guide are possible. Jongmyo Shrine is the supreme shrine of the state, where the tablet of royal ancestors are shrined. Memorial services are performed for deceased kings and queens. According to Confucian philosophy and concept of geomancy, Jongmyo was built on the east side of the royal palace to its left, and the Sajik shrine, where ritual services for the gods of earth and crows were performed, was built on the west side of the royal palace to its right. When a king or queen died, mourning at the palace would continue for 3 years after death. After the 3-year mourning period was over, memorial tablet of the deceased were moved to Jongmyo and Shrine. Jeongjeon. King's credit with outstanding virtues, these are enshrined. 19 spirit chambers and houses are total of 49 tablets. Myeongjeon. The tablet of King Taejo's ancestors of the preceding 4 generations were posthumously crowned as king. Tablets that were moved from Jeongjeon. 16 spirit chambers and 34 tablets. The tablets of 2 kings, Yeonsan-gun and Gwang Hae-gun, who were deposed from the throne, are not kept in Jongmyo. Jongmyo Shrine was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 1995, and the Jongmyo Jaere and the Jongmyo Jaere were inscribed on the Masterpieces of the Oral and Intangible Heritage of Humanity in 2001. Jongmyo Jaere. Jongmyo Jaere, the royal ancestral rite, was the most important state ritual. It was conducted 5 times annually at Jeongjeon and twice annually at Yeongnyeongjeon. The king performed the ritual himself. The crown prince and all high-ranking civilian and military government officials attended Jongmyo Jaere. Royal ancestral ritual music involved instrumental music, singing, and dancing. At present, Jongmyo Jaere is performed once a year on the first Sunday of May. Other ceremonies to report important state affairs or to pay for the state were also performed at Jongmyo. Jongmyo's facilities. None of Jongmyo's facilities are lavishly adorned. They emphasize only solemnity, purity, and sublimity. This extreme simplicity will convey the deep meaning of life and death, and its stately serenity will feel the scale authority of the Joseon Dynasty. Hamabi. Hamabi is one of many such stones set along the entrance to the important state institutions of Joseon, including the royal ancestral shrine and the royal palaces, commanding visitors or passers-by to show respect by dismounting from their horses. The name of Marcus originated from the text engraved on the front surface. All officials, whatever their rank, are required to dismount from their horse. Jeongjeongyo Bridge. Jeongjeongyo was built to cross the Hwaedong-jaeseng-dongcheon, the stream that runs by the entrance to royal ancestral shrine. Originally a wooden bridge, it was rebuilt with stone in 1421 during the reign of King Sejong and renovated in 1663. For the Joseon rulers, the bridge was a very important part of the infrastructure of their capital city because they had to use it whenever they were required to attend major state events held at the shrine, including the annual memorial rites honoring the royal ancestors of Joseon. The bridge was consists of a simple beam bridge structure roughly divided into 3 lanes, with a middle lane slightly raised to represent a royal lane. The new wall posts standing at the both ends of its abutments are topped with a sculpture of a mythical beast called Haetae. This picture is Jongmyo Jeonggyo Bridge. You can see the Haetae. Hwaedaemun Gate. The main gate of the Jongmyo is called the Outer Gate or the Outer Three Gate. Unlike the Palace Gate, the main gate is very frugal and simple in structure. Shillo. The slightly raised center path called Shillo was for officiant carrying spirit tablets, incense, and written prayers. The path on the right, called Oro, was for the king. The path on the left, called Seja-aro, was for the Crown Prince. Shilo starts from the main gate of Jongmyo and leads to Jeongjeon and Yeongnyeongjeon, the two main buildings where the ancestral tablet are enshrined. Before arriving in Jeongjeon and Yeongnyeongjeon, the three footpaths separate. Shilo passes through the south gate, Oro and Sejaro pass through the east gate. This picture is Shilo. Jeongjeon area. Jeongjeon is the main hall and the most important part of Jongmyo Shrine. In front of it, this long building stretches a massive elevated stone platform enclosed by walls on all sides. South gate is for spirits, east gate for the king and the ritual officiant, west gate is musicians and dancers. When Jeongjeon was first built in 1395, it had 7 spirit chambers. Additions and alterations were made over the years until there were 19 spirit chambers and 49 spirit tablets, making Jeongjeon a very long wooden building. The large expansive stone yard and imposing magnificent roof casting its shadow over it shows the sublime beauty of classical architecture. Inside the southern walls were Gongsin-dang to the east and the Silsadang Shrine to the west. Outside the west wall was Akgongcheon. Spirit chamber is a room for spirit tablet. Spirit tablet is a wooden tablet inscribed with the name of the deceased. This room is Jeongjeon area. Yeongnyeongjeon area. Yeongnyeongjeon is an annex to the main hall Jeongjeon. It was built in 1421 when Jeongjeon could no longer accommodate any more spirit tablet. The name Yeongnyeong means may the ancestors and the descendants of the royal family live long in peace. The facilities and layout of Yeongnyeongjeon are similar to those of Jeongjeon, but the building is smaller and more intimate. Like Jeongjeon, it has 2-tiered elevated stone platform in front. The whole area is enclosed with walls, and 3 gates were built in the east, south, and west. Yeongnyeongjeon had 6 spirit chambers when it was first built, but was eventually expanded to 16 spirit chambers as we see today. On the central raised section are 4 spirit chambers for ancestors of the preceding 4 generations of King Taejo, founder of the Joseon dynasty. This drawing is Yeongnyeongjeon area. Jaegong area. Jaegong is where the king and the crown prince made their preparations for ancestral rituals. It's also called Ajesil or Asuksil. Ajesil, where the king stayed, is to the north. Sejasil, a room for the crown prince, is to the east. Omogyeokcheong, a basic facility, is to the west. The king and the crown prince entered through the main gate of Jaegong and stayed here to purify their minds and bodies, exited by the west gate and then entered Jeongjeon, the main hall, through the east gate to perform the rituals. This room is Jaegong area. Jeonsacheong area. Jeonsacheong is a kitchen where foods were prepared for rituals. In other times, ritual vessels and tools were kept inside this rectangular-shaped building. On the courtyard, stone mortars used for preparing food remain. Subokbang, between Jeonsacheong and the east gate of Jeongjeon, was the quarters used by officials guarding Jongmyo Shrine. In front of Subokbang are raised areas named Cheonmakdan and Seongsaengwi. Cheonmakdan is where the food was given a last check before being taken up for rituals. Seongsaengwi is where animals such as cows, sheep, and pigs were examined before being sacrificed. Jongmyo ritual was the most important of the national ceremonies, so the king himself looked at the preparation process. To the east of Jeonsacheong is Jaejeong, a well used for rituals. This room is Jeonsacheong area. Hangdaecheong area. Hangdaecheong is a storage room for ritual supplies where incense, ritual paper, and offerings were kept, and officiant who would minister at the ancestral rituals stood by. Mangmyoruk Pavilion to the south is where the king would take a short rest when visiting to pay tribute to deceased kings and conduct rituals. In front of Mangmyeoru is a pond, Jungyeonji, and behind Mangmyeoru is Gongminwang Shindang, a shrine housing a portrait and scrolls of King Gongmin. This drawing is Hyangdaecheong area. Gongminwang Shindang. This is a shrine honoring King Gongmin, the 31st monarch of the Goryeo dynasty, and his wife Noguk Daejang Gongju, a princess from Mongolia. It is extraordinary that the king of Goryeo should be enshrined in Jongmyo Shrine. The exact reason for this is not known. This picture is inside of Gongminwang Shindang. Akgongcheong. Akgongcheong is where court musicians and dancers stood by before performing the rituals. There are Jeongjeon Akgongcheon and Yeongnyeongjeon Akgongcheong. It is a place where a king and the crown prince pause for a moment to prepare the ceremony.